Hello, welcome to my channel. My name's Helen and this is my studio space. Today I thought I would I've been doing some printing. A couple of weeks ago I had a go at some intaglio printing. At this stage I didn't have a press. I now have a pasta machine which I have used as a press, but I didn't have a press and I thought, could I do intaglio printing at home without a press? And yes, you can. So I'm going to show you that process, but I'm also going to combine it with another process that I played with, and that was using an alternative to printing ink. So I'm going to have a go at doing some intaglio printing at home using recycled materials without a press and without any printing ink. So if that sounds like fun, let's get going. So let's have a think about intaglio printing first of all. I'm never quite sure whether it's intaglio, it's got a G in it. It's a probably Italian name, I'm sure it is, or intaglio, intaglio. Anyway, intaglio printing. So this type of printing, basically you print using the Drypoint printing plates. So you're making a Drypoint, a scratchy mark into something. The ink then sits in these burry, scratchy marks, and you wipe the rest of the plate off, and then you overlay it with damp paper, squash it in, and the damp paper sucks the ink from the scratchy lines into the paper. And you get because you're pressing damp paper onto a plate, you're also getting an embossed print as well. So that's my understanding of intaglio printing. How do you do that at home? Well, yeah, you can use the damp paper, that's fine. So there's lots of surfaces that you can Drypoint into. So I've looked at different plastics. I'm going to be using a yogurt lid actually today. So why would you want to try intaglio printing at home? So what's the point of trying it out first of all? Well, the point for me is, I wanted to understand the process, and could I do this without a press before I invested into, do I want to get a printing, any sort of printing press, for want of a better word, at this stage? Yeah, it's whether or not you want to have a go at this process to see whether you want to invest further into it. Obviously, you can go down the route of tapping into, if you've got a local print studio, and do some open studio stuff there, or some courses or some classes or something. Yeah, I've investigated how I can do it, and I managed to get a reasonable print. It's not print perfect, the professionals are probably going to frown at me, but hey, that's what I do. I do scrappy stuff. I find a way. I enjoy the process. I like playing with materials. Does it matter? It's all play in the end. Let's pop onto the overhead camera and have a little look at some of the materials that I've used, and ones that you could consider. Some of the tools that I've used and ones that you could consider. Let's make a block and do some printing. So these are some of the prints that I have done already with Drypoint. So this was my first attempt. So this is just a very simple landscape image, which I used one of my grab-and-go sketchbooks as the inspiration. So I think actually I did this with a compass, scratched it with a compass. It's on a yogurt pot, and I printed it without a press. So that is the plate. I did try it with some colour, so it has got a bit of a stain of colour on there now. But anyway, that's my plate. These are some of the prints that I managed to create without a press. I have got an emboss here, so you can just about see there's a line on the back here, so I did manage to emboss it. That's one I tried with some colour, so I've got some very old block ink. So I tried that. Got a bit of movement on that one. This one I got a bit mucky. And it's a little bit more blurred. So yeah, you can get some interesting results. I'd say this one was just printed without a press. So again, you can just about see the line of the emboss on the back there. So I was quite happy with those as a starting point, and thought, yep, that would work. And then this is the plate for my other print, which is based on one of the birds from the Marian hangings in Oxburgh Hall. And then this one is done. It is done on the pasta machine, so it's done with a press, but it's done with woody. It's not done with ink, and that's what I'm going to play with today. So that was print number 1, and then this was the first ghost print. So you get a good emboss. So this is the first ghost print. So I didn't re-ink the plate, and then this is the third print, and again didn't re-ink the plate. So you've got a nice crisp emboss. So today I'm going to have a go at doing another block. I'm going to do another landscape using the yogurt pot, and I'm going to print it without a press and without ink. So using the woodies, and I'll maybe have a go at putting some Neocolor 2 through it as well, and see what results I get there. So whether or not what you can use without a press and without any printing ink. Yeah, that's what I'm going to have a play with today. I'm going to do another landscape one. So I've done a bit of a rough doodle in this sketchbook. Again, I'm going to use the yogurt lid. It is nice and smooth. So I've just drawn round that just to give myself a bit of an idea of what I'm going to do composition-wise. Yeah, that was my first doodle. This is my second doodle. I've tried to simplify it a bit more. And so, yeah, kind of variation on a theme there. I've got a few other plastics that you could try. I've got some milk container. This does have a texture on it. I don't know how well that would work, but some people are using milk container. The advantage of that, as you can see, is you could easily trace over your design. I'm not going to be able to do that with this, although I can see some of it through the white bit. So milk container. I've also got some acetate. This was one of the pieces that I had left over when I was fixing the charcoal with matte medium. It's still smooth on one side. I wouldn't be able to use the other side because that's got the debris of the matte medium and stuff on there. But I could easily just cut a plate from there and draw on that. So using acetate, or this is another piece just of packaging, so any firm plastic would work. So the advantage of that is you can tape it to your sketchbook and scratch over top of that. You can see your design through it. I've got some tools, various. This is a proper Drypoint needle. It is really fine, it is really scratchy, so I can use that, but I've improvised with some other things. This is a woodworker's awl. So normally I have a cork on the end of it anyway, but I have fed another cork on top here, and that's hopefully going to give me a little bit more of a comfortable writing hold. And so, yeah, I've just put my other cork back on top. I've also played around with a couple of screws here with the same sort of thing. So I've got a couple of quite long screws, and I've screwed a cork around them just to give me something nicer to hold on to. So I may use those. Also in my toolbox, I came across these. So these are really fine files. They're only cheap files, but they've got sharp points on 4 of them. They're also kind of a bit like emery boards, so I could maybe put some texture on, or I could use these as scratchy scratches. So I brought them in anyway. I don't use them for anything else at the moment, so they've come in. The other thing I've got over here is an old-fashioned compass. So I could easily draw with that, and I have done. So let's put that in there. But you could easily put a darning needle in a cork. You could put a skewer in a cork. Anything sharp and pokey that may make a scratchy mark. What I found doing this one, you start off with good intention of kind of, you know, where your line is going to be, but the plastic, the texture, the surface will kind of guide your line. So although I set out for these lines to be quite straight, they did kind of go their own way. And I guess that kind of, you know, that adds to the quirk of it. But what you're looking for is a scratch line that's going to create a burr, with a raised line. And that's where your ink is going to sit. These are graphite sticks. I use them for rubbing. I wonder whether that, yep, they will. So they're quite soft, so I can just easily draw on here. So I've got it plotted out anyway on my plastic. This, for me, the drawing tip is too fine. I don't like drawing with a fine pencil, but it's going to give me an outline of what I need. And I find I have to draw it backwards to make a mark. So as you can hear, it's sort of scratchy back. I'm just going to do the rough lines. These are all going to be gone over and over. And to be honest, you're not really going to know what's what and what's where. So this isn't quite as scratchy. And it's going to be more of a sort of a scribble drawing. Well, it is for me. You can feel the marks. Let me just go back to this one. It is a bit more scratchy. For me, this tool just is, it doesn't flow for me. Maybe they're not meant to. Let's go with, I didn't have a nail, but I've got a wider point screw. That's not really very sharp, this one. So you don't really know what you've got until you ink up. I don't want to do too much along that line until I've got this tree in here. So I'm going to start doing this line here a bit. So your drawings are going to be quite stylized or scribbly. I'm kind of looking at an angle so I can see how the light is reflecting. And this is where you need to get your cross hatching and that sort of mark making. And I'm not a fine art drawer, but we'll get some sort of interesting line from here. So you can just maybe see as I tip it to the light that I have scratched into my surface a bit of a landscape image. Okay, so that's just using my yogurt pot. Now let's see if I'm organised, ready for printing. So I've got my plate. I have also got some paper to print on. So I'm going to be using, I'm going to do a couple of pieces of watercolour paper. So it's just 300 gram watercolour paper. I'm going for A6 size. I'm also going to use some 190. And so I've got 4 pieces of that. So I've got 2 and 4. So those are my printing papers. To print with, I'm kind of going to make a bit of a sandwich. So I've made out of just with some lining paper, but any paper will do. I've made a registration plate. So this is basically the size of my A6 paper. So I'll put my inked up plate there, paper on top. I'm then going to be placing a piece of, this is just newsprint packaging paper, that's going to go on top. I'm going to squash that down, and then I am going to roll with a rolling pin. So that is going to be my press. I am the press. So that's the rolling pin. So basically I'm going to make a sandwich, a print sandwich, and then roll. So I've got my papers ready there. The other thing I've got on the table here is a water bath so I can soak my paper. So I'm going to be soaking my paper while I'm inking up. Then I will drain it. And I've got a couple of other pieces of blotting paper handy here. This again is just lining paper that I'm using to blot. I've also got some kitchen paper handy as well. So what is my magic ingredient? I'm going to move the, I can have a stall as well. So what's my magic ingredient to use instead of printing ink? Well, it's the woody. So Stabilo woodies, so they are basically kids' crayons. They are water soluble. And so I found that by just colouring in my plate, wiping off what I didn't want, the Stabilo sticks into the grooves, and it actually does quite a nice print. I've also wondered whether, and I've tried this on Tetra Pak, and it does actually work quite nicely on Tetra Pak. So the Neocolor 2s, they transfer very nicely. And apparently the Derwent Inktense blocks, I haven't got any to show you, but the Derwent Inktense blocks apparently work as well. So that's something else you could try. I'm just going to put my paper into soak. So this is the 300 grams going in. So it needs to be completely submerged. We'll let that soak. This is the 190. Okay, so I'm just going to use the black woody. And I've got some spray here, water spray, and I'll use the kitchen paper as well. So basically, I'm just going to colour in and really rub that woody into my scratched lines. And you can hear it against the scratchy marks. Like I hinted earlier on, the purists out there who want to do things the proper way, look away now. So what I was trying to do with this process is just make it a little bit less messy. So with printing ink, you'd be donning your gloves, you'd be rubbing, scraping the ink into your plate, and then with paper and scrim, so like a gauze material, you'd be rubbing away and polishing your plate. Well, I was trying to reduce the mess just a little bit. So it does rub off like that, but yes, it is going to be a bit messy, but not as messy as it could have been. So I am still using a circular movement. So this is just water in my spray here. So I'm using a circular movement, so it's going to be rubbing the woody into the burr as well. So yeah, I'm getting messy fingers, but it's not printing ink messy fingers. This is just kids' crayon. And you just keep wiping until you've got enough off of your plate to still give you some detail, without washing it away completely. So I think I'm going to give this a go. I don't mind some mucky, smudgy fingers, as in the marks on the plate. Yeah, I think I'm going to give this a go and see what happens. I am just going to go wash my hands, pop those in the bin. Okay, clean hands. Okay, so we need to sort the paper out. So I've got a board here with a couple of bits of paper on. I'm just going to carefully take these out. Just let the water drip off. Some people do use a squeegee, and I have done this, so I've popped it on, against the side of the bath and squeegeed the water off before blotting. It's whatever works for you. But you want that paper to be quite saturated, but obviously not falling to pieces. So the watercolour paper, because it's thicker paper, it's at 300, is going to stand up much better. I'm going to get this out of the way so I don't tip water all over everywhere. I've just got a sheet of newsprint. I'm just going to mop the worst of it off here. So let's pop you back there for the moment. So I've got my inked up plate. I've got my registration plate. I've done very faint lines so I can see where I kind of want to go and where the paper might sit. So the plate is going to go on. I'm going to use one of the pieces of the 190. Give it a little bit more of a blot, just to take some of that extra moisture out. And place that down on top of the inked up plate. Oopsie. I need to pop a piece of newsprint on top, some packing paper, and then I'm going to just fold my sandwich over, get rid of my inky plate, and then I'm just going to start rolling. Now some people do burnish with a, I've seen somebody use a bottom of a jam jar. So maybe just anything that is going to put some pressure on the back of this printing paper. Let me get my wooden spoon out. Where's my wooden spoon? Right here, right next to me. So you could try burnishing. And you want a nice embossed print. So I'm going to just continue burnishing on the outside. My head isn't in the way. Holding the plate still, I'm just going to have a little look, see if we're getting a print. I think I am. I think I'm going to pull it. I'm going to take this one off and have a look, see what we've got. So I'm going to take away the newspaper and carefully pull back the printing paper. You stay there. And that's my print. So I've got quite a nice emboss. You can see there's the ridge line at the back, which is sort of the paper is squashed over the plate. And yeah, I've got a little Drypoint Intaglio print, just using a woody instead of printing ink, and a rolling pin and a wooden spoon instead of a press. So yeah, it does work. So that was with the 190 paper. Yeah, pretty pleased with that. What I forgot to say is, of course, if you are doing a landscape, then if you want it to be the correct way round, you will need to reverse your image for the plate. I didn't do that, but it doesn't matter. It still reads as a landscape with something way off in the distance. So actually what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull a ghost print. So a ghost print is when you take a print from a block without re-inking. So it will be a softer, lighter print than this one. So yeah, we'll see whether how much of a ghost print we get from that. I'm still going to use the 190, see how that goes. So I haven't re-inked. I'm just going to pop another piece of paper on top. And I'm going to put a piece of newsprint on, make my sandwich. I'm going to just move this one out the way for the moment. So I actually think the wooden spoon made more of a difference than the roller. So just burnishing like you would with a lino print works quite nicely. So this will be a lighter print. I've got an embossed. Yeah, it's kind of. So let's have a look here. Yep, I'm getting something. So again, I'm going to pull it. And that's my ghost print. So not as clear. I've lost some details on the fields, but still quite a fun thing to do. I even quite like the corner that it's not a square plate. That's for me that's kind of cute. But this is quite a nice emboss. So I'm going to leave it there for those ones. I am going to go and give my plate a bit of a clean, and then I'm going to try a Neocolor 2 and see what I can do with that. So I've just put some Neocolor 2 on the plate. So I think this is a raw umber. Let me have a look. Yep, raw umber. Let's move that out the way. You're going to go back down here. I'm going to use one of the 300 watercolour pieces of paper and see whether that works. By now they've been sitting for a little while, so there's no shine on the surface, but they are still damp. So you want the damp paper to go on top. Extra layer of protection. So let's have a look, see what's happening here. So that's still sandwiched there. I can feel a bit of a... I can see an emboss. Have I actually got any ink coming up? Oh, I have. I'm going to pull it. So let's have a look. So this is with a Neocolor 2. I've got a bit of a smudge on the end there. But Neocolor 2 works as well. So there you go. If you want to have a go at Drypoint, Intaglio printing, this could be an entry level or starting point, just to see whether or not you enjoy the process of scratching onto your surface and whether you enjoy the process of printing like this. I must admit, for me, I'm not a fine line drawer, generally speaking. But yeah, I'm fascinated. I'm thrilled that this works with the watercolor medium. So woodies and Neocolor 2s. So there you go. That's my scrappy Intaglio printing. So if you want to give this process a try without investing into all of the equipment, all of the presses and whatever, then this may be an option for you. Give it a go and see whether you like the process, see whether your drawing style fits it. I'm hoping you can see me through this. I'm now getting loads of sunshine through the window. Don't want to shut it out. It's UK. We don't get very much this time of year, so let's not shut it out. A couple of points to add to the process that I forgot to say along the way. So another surface to consider drawing on, etching on, dry pointing on is old CDs. So if you've got any old CDs, some people are working onto those and they seem to work quite successfully. I haven't tried them myself, but you could give that a go. And the other one is old store cards. So if they haven't got the raised numbers, if it's a flat plastic store card, you could give that a go. As always, I'd like to thank you so much for all your support and all the lovely comments, for the likes and the subscriptions. And yeah, keep making, keep creating, and keep having fun. So until next time, thank you so much again. Bye for now.